So in the last video, what we did was we finished implementing all of the player movement, having the player be able to go through the top and the bottom of the screen, also having the player be able to shoot bullets using the spacebar in whatever direction they're facing. So in this video, we're going to actually add all of the asteroids that the player is going to have to dodge or shoot depending on what they want. So if you remember, whenever we imported all of the assets, there was 3 different asteroids, right? There's asteroid 50, asteroid 100, and asteroid 150. So they're all 3 different sizes. And the way the original Asteroids games works is whenever the user shoots a large asteroid, it breaks and then 2 smaller ones come out. So if the user shoots an asteroid with a size of 150, then that one's going to disappear, and then 2 that are the size 100 are going to come. I know it's bigger on here. Trust me, this is 150, this one's 100. I don't know why it looks bigger, but then 2 100-sized asteroids are going to come. And then whenever each of those are shot, it'll disappear, and then a size 50 asteroid will come, and then once the 50 pixel asteroid gets shot, that one will finally disappear. So what we're going to do first is go up here. We can just create the class right under the bullet class. We can create the class right under the bullet class and above the redraw game window method, and we're going to call it asteroid. So we're going to say class asteroid. It's an object, and the first thing we're going to do is create the init function like always. In this init function, we're going to give it one parameter, which is going to be called rank. So the rank is just going to either be a 1, 2, or a 3, depending on the size. So a 1 would be 50 pixel, a 2 would be 100 pixel, and a 3 would be 150 pixels. And then so we'll say self.rank is going to equal rank, and then we'll say if self.rank is equal to 1, then self.image is going to be equal to asteroid 50, and then we'll say elif self.rank is equal to 2, then self.image is going to be equal to asteroid 100, and then else self.image will be asteroid 150. Now we have to set the width and the height, so we can just say self.width is going to equal 50 times the rank, because if it's 1, then it's 50, so 1 times 50, 2 will be 100. And so I'm sure you understand that. And then self.height is say the same thing, 50 times the rank. Now what we're going to do is we're going to say self.randPoint, and what this variable is going to do is it's going to be a random place on the screen that the asteroid is going to come in from. So this is going to be a bit of a long line, so just try to match it as best as you can. So what we're going to say is random.choice, do parentheses and then a square bracket and then a parentheses, and we're going to say random.randRange, and then we're going to say between 0 and then the screen width minus self.width. Get out of that parentheses and say comma, and then we're going to say randChoice, or random.choice, and then we're going to say parentheses, square bracket, -1 times self.h minus 5, and then comma, screen height plus 5. We're going to close the square bracket, and then 2 parentheses, and then a comma. And then this last one's going to be new open parentheses. We'll say random.choice, and it'll be -1 times the self.width minus 5, comma, screen width plus 5, and then the square bracket, parentheses, comma, random.rand range from 0, comma, screen height minus self.h. And then we'll have two parentheses. Okay, we only have one parenthesis. We need one more parentheses. And a square bracket and parentheses. And so let's scroll up to the very top and import random. And then go back down and see where the little mistake is. So right here we need a parentheses, and that'll get rid of all the errors. So I know this is a bit of a long line. Let me just kind of show you the whole thing real fast so that you can make sure you have it copied correctly. But basically, the reason it's this long is because we want the asteroids to come in from the outer edges, and this will help it. This will make sure that it doesn't spawn an asteroid on the screen. So it'll either be above the screen, like above, coming from above, coming from below, coming from the right, or coming from the left. That's why it's all randomized. Next, what we just have to do is say self.x is going to equal self.rand points. Or we can just do self.x comma self.y. So the first index over the random point is the x, the second index is going to be self.y. Now we're going to have to figure out the direction, right? Because it picked a random point for the asteroid to come in from, and then depending on where it's coming from, it's going to need a specific direction, right? So now we're going to say if self.x is less than the screen width divided by 2, so if it's on the left half of the screen, then we're going to say self.x dir, so x direction, we'll set that equal to 1, so that it'll kind of be going to the right. And then else self.x dir is going to equal -1. And now we just need an if statement for the y, which is going to look very, very similar. If self.y is less than the screen height divided by 2, then self.y dir is going to equal 1, else self.y dir is going to equal -1. So that's looking good. And now we just need to give them velocities. So we'll say self.xv, so x velocity, is going to equal self.xdir, it's like the direction, times random.rand range from 1 to 3. So it's from 1 to 3 so that not all the asteroids are moving at the exact same speed. Some of them are going to be moving faster than others, and it'll just increase the variability in the game. And then we're going to do the same thing for y, so self.yv is going to equal self.ydir times random.rand range from 1 to 3. So that is looking good. Now we're going to get out of that function and just create the draw function. So I'll say def draw, pass in the window, and then we'll say win.blitz self.image, and then pass in self.x and self.y. So now it'll draw the asteroid at the position, and it'll draw the correct size of it. So down here, where in the same place that we created the player bullets list, we're going to need to create the asteroids list. So asteroids is going to be set equal to an empty list. And the way that we're going to add the asteroids to the game is incrementally. So we're going to go right here under the asteroids list creation and say count is equal to 0. And so what counts is it's going to be an integer that's going to constantly increment every time the while loop gets run. So right under clock.tick, we're going to say count is equal to, or count plus equals 1. And then the way we're going to add the asteroids to the game is by going in the if not game over if statement and saying if count %50 is equal to 0, then ran is going to be equal to random.choice, and we're just going to say like 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, and 3. So this is going to return any one of these numbers. There's more ones, so there's a higher chance of a 50-sized asteroid getting added to the list, but there's a 1 in 6 chance that it'll be 150 pixels, and then a 1 in 3 chance that it's a 2 or 100 size pixel. And then we're going to say asteroids dot append a new asteroid, and we're going to pass in RAN, which is the rank that we got from this random choice. So that's looking good. Now, in order to display the asteroids on the screen, we can just go up to the redraw game window, say for A in asteroids, we're going to call a.draw and pass in the window. And yeah. Nope, and then the last thing we have to do is we can just go like, let's go right under this for loop for the player bullets, and we're going to do something pretty similar. We'll say for A in asteroids, a dot x is going to plus equals a dot x velocity, and then a dot y is going to plus equals a dot y velocity. So yeah, that's looking good. Now let's run this and see if it's working correctly. So as you can see, now we've got some asteroids coming on the screen. They're all random sizes. Some of them are faster than others. And yeah, that's looking good. But now when we shoot, nothing happens, right? So we have to start checking for collisions. And there's going to be two types of collisions that we're going to be checking for. So the first one is between the bullet and the asteroid, because we want it to be whenever I shoot one of the asteroid disappears. And we need another collision that detects if the asteroid hits the actual player, right? So then the player would like lose a life basically, and we can give him like a set amount, like 3 lives, for example. So if I get hit 3 times, then the game is gonna end, and then the user can decide if they want to like play again or if they just want to leave the game, right? Okay, so to check for collisions, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go inside the for loop where we loop through all the asteroids and make them move, and we're gonna say, so we're gonna start off with checking to see if it's been hit by a bullet, right? So let's just kind of label that. We'll say bullet collision. What we're going to do is we're going to loop through all of the bullets inside of the for loop for each asteroid. So we'll say for B in bullets, in player bullets. And what we're going to do is say if B.x is greater than or equal to A.x, and B.x is less than or equal to a dot x plus a dot the width. So that's going to be, that would mean the bullet is between the beginning and the ending of the asteroid. And then we're also just going to say, we're going to copy this, paste it right here, and then instead of just saying b dot x, we're going to add plus b dot width on both of those, plus b dot width. And then we'll just close it off with a colon. And if that is true, then we're going to check if it's between the top and the bottom of the asteroid. So to do that, we're going to say if b dot y is greater than or equal to a dot y, and b dot y is less than or equal to a dot y plus a dot height, or b dot y plus b dot height is greater than or equal to a dot y, and b dot y plus b dot height is less than or equal to a dot y plus a dot height. So yeah, this basically, if, and let's just put parentheses around the first group of and, just so the code doesn't make any mistakes. And I know this is pretty long, but it's a lot more simple than it looks. It's just basically getting the x value of the bullet and then checking to see if it's, like, in a sense, inside of the bullet, right? Like if it's in between the right and the left of the bullet, and then if it is, then it'll check if it's also in between the top and the bottom of it. And then if both of those return true, then what it's finally going to do is get rid of that asteroid, right? So what we'll do is we'll say asteroids dot pop, and then we'll say asteroids dot index of A, and we're also going to get rid of the bullet as well. So we'll say bullets, so player bullets dot pop of player bullets dot index of B. So this is going to get rid of both of them, right? So now when we run this, and let's say we shoot this asteroid right there, the asteroid that we shot it with, no, not the asteroid. So the asteroid that we shoot disappears, and so does the bullet. So that's looking good. Now what we have to do is also add 2 new asteroids in place of the asteroid that just disappeared. So if it was one of the 150 pixel asteroids, we need to add 2 100 pixel asteroids. And if it was a 100 pixel asteroid, then we need to add 2 50 pixel asteroids instead of just making them all disappear. So in order to do that, we're going to go above where we took the asteroid out, and we're actually going to say if a.rank is equal to 3, then we're going to add 2 new asteroids to the list. So we'll say asteroids.append asteroid, and then we'll pass in about a rank of 2. And then we'll copy this line and paste it to add 2 of them, and then we'll say elif a.rank is equal to 2, so if it was 100 pixels, then we'll copy these 2 lines, paste them there, and then instead of adding 2 new asteroids of rank 2, we're going to add them of rank 1. The only thing we need to change is that we want those new asteroids to be in the same place as the old asteroid, right? Like we don't want them to just come out from outside the screen. We want it to replace the bigger one that disappeared. Okay, so the way that we're going to make the 2 new asteroids spawn in place of the old one instead of just a random location is, instead of immediately appending them, we are going to say like NA, like for new asteroid 1 is going to equal asteroid, and we'll pass in a rank of 2, and then we can copy this line, paste it, we'll say like NA2. And then, so now they're both going to spawn randomly, but then we just set the X and the Y's of those asteroids to the A asteroid that we're in the for loop for. Hopefully that makes sense. So basically NA1.x is going to equal A.x, and then NA2.x is going to equal A.x, NA1.y is going to equal A.y, and then NA2.y is going to equal A.y. Instead of saying append a random asteroid, we'll just append either, well, so the first one we'll say NA1, and then the second one we're going to type in NA2. We can get rid of this empty line, and then we can copy all of this. We can just copy all of that code and paste it right here. And then instead, just change the rank from 2 and make it 1. And so now that should be good. Let's run it and see what happens when we shoot one. So shooting a 50 won't do anything, but shooting a larger, we'll see now it made 2 bigger ones, right? So if we shoot this big one, it created 2 new asteroids. If we shoot like this 100 pixel one, 2 50 sized asteroids came, and yeah, so now the split is working well, and all that is working. Next, what we have to do is just create what's it called? We have to check for the collision between the asteroid and the actual ship. So like in the case that we aren't able to dodge it. And I think that we're going to work on that in the next video. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you found this useful. If you guys ran into any issues, just comment down below and I'll try my best to help you solve them.